I have always found intermissions to be a fascinating concept. It began with theatrical productions to give a break to the audience who found it hard to concentrate for more than 2 hours at a stretch, to take a urine break, and for the performers themselves to take a breather, and for costume and set changes. When this translated to movie screenings, it also allowed theatre venues to take advantage by selling food and drinks. Though intermissions have mostly phased out in the West, India has continued this tradition till date, and it's so ingrained in our movie viewing culture that filmmakers began incorporating the concept of the interval from the writing process itself. That's why when we talk about films, mainly Indian films, we divide them into two parts, the first half and the second half, the pre interval and the post interval. For example, I had taken a group of friends to watch Scorsese's latest Killers of the Flower Moon, and they told me that they liked the second half much better than the first, which was fascinating because the filmmakers never made the film envisioning an abrupt break in between. The film is supposed to run continuously for 3.5 hours, yet, due to the way Indian cinemas function, we, the audience, perceive it much differently than the rest of the world. That is also why the editor of the film, Thelma Schoonmaker, isn't too happy about this intermission business either. Either way, despite how enthralling I find this concept, in this video, I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite interval sequences in film and why I think they work. Mind you, there will be spoilers for whatever films I talk about here, so consider this a warning. Leo. I had a really good time in the cinemas watching this movie, and though I have issues with the second half of the film, elaborated on in my review of Leo, do check that out, the first half of the film really worked for me, introducing me to this world and set of characters that I grew to care about, until the primary conflict of the film started to kick in when we realized that there is much more to Parthiban's story than it seems, with an unresolved dark past that we are unaware of. We are introduced to the antagonistic force of the film as Parthiban prepares for battle and a horde of goons unveil a framed photo of a seemingly younger Parthiban. I found myself asking a lot of questions. Is Parthiban Leo? Does he have a twin? A clone? Either way, I was invested and had to know what was going to happen next, and Anirudh's music only heightened my curiosity. And amidst this investment came the title card of the film and the interval. Irrespective of the fact that the second half absolutely did not live up to the hype the first half had created, that interval block did leave me curious and excited to see how the events of the story would unfold. Master. I know, another Lokesh Kanagaraj film starring Vijay, but what can I say? Throughout the film, JD is an extremely flawed character. He's an alcoholic for reasons unknown, and this gets in the way of his responsibilities when he fails to save the lives of two children in dire need of his help from the antagonist of the film, Bhavani. After bearing witness to the consequences of his thoughtlessness, he realizes that he needs to change. There's a splendid action sequence inside a police station where JD unleashes all of his pent up rage and regret and brutally beats up Bhavani's men. Mind you, we have been seeing parallel storylines of both the hero and villain, but they haven't met yet, and this is the first time we see both of them interact with each other. JD challenges Bhavani, and Bhavani is interested to have a new threat to face. Finally, their storylines converge, and we are going to see them face off. Our protagonist is now going to begin their character arc, and the antagonist is going to meet his match. Anirudh's music adds fuel to the fire, and the film leaves us amidst this anticipation. Three Idiots. There are parallel storylines in the structure of this film as well, but it's not between the hero and villain, but instead between the past and present, as we follow the college lives of Rancho, Farhan and Farhan and Raju finding Rancho 10 years later. Now, we are being told about the college storyline from Farhan. It's his perspective we're hearing from. He's the one narrating everything, so we know what he knows. And by this point in the story, we have grown to care about these characters, which is why we are invested in Farhan and Raju's search for Rancho, because we want these people to reunite. And the both of them eventually do find Rancho's home. We're finally going to get to see them again. But he's not there. It's some other dude sharing Rancho's name. So then, what happened? Farhan notices their college group photo framed on the wall and is astonished to see this stranger there instead of his friend. He and we, the audience, are equally confused as to what the hell is going on, and that's when the movie stops. It's the interval. We are left asking questions such as, who is this man? What is he doing in this photo? Where even is Rancho? Heightening our curiosity and investment in the film. Jawan. Shah Rukh Khan's comeback this year has been nothing short of incredible, with hits like Pathan and Jawan and the upcoming Donkey. We're all just happy to see the man who has been entertaining us for decades return to the big screen. And bigger than ever. In Jawan, Azad and Narmada have just gotten married, and Narmada finds out that Azad is the man she has been hunting down all this while. But then they get kidnapped by Kali's men and are brutally beaten up. Narmada is even shot in the arm. Things are not looking good for our heroes. Azad's team of women close in on saving him, but a hammer bashes up Kali's men. Where did this even come from? We wonder. Someone is here. The goons run towards the source and come back flying. The background music is soaring with energy. Out walks a silhouette from the smoke. We see him walk out in slow motion, and to my surprise, it's another Shah Rukh Khan. Azad's dad Vikram has arrived to save his son. I still remember seeing this for the first time in the theatre, and I genuinely did not see this coming. The whole cinema hall went crazy seeing Shah Rukh Khan walk out of that smoke. This entry was followed by a spectacular action sequence where Vikram mercilessly slaughters all the goons single-handedly with his iconic belt. Then he picks up his son and kills Kali's brother while announcing his name, and then came the interval. I cannot tell you just how much I love this entire sequence. There is the thrill of seeing another version of your favorite superstar show up in such a badass avatar, and the curiosity of why there are two versions in the first place. Either way, this was a reveal that I did not at all expect. It's something I never knew I needed, and that makes for a captivating cinematic experience. Vikram. I know, this is the third Lokesh Kanagaraj film in this list, but hey, if the man's good at interval blocks, then what can I do? But I would say that this is by far my favorite one out of all of his movies. The film introduces the hero of the film and then kills him off, which is a bold storytelling move, especially for a star vehicle film. After which we briefly see the hero, but told from the perspective of someone else upon investigation. Meanwhile, the film puts its focus on the other characters and progressing the plot. There are also a series of murders by these masked vigilantes taking place, which our secondary protagonist, Amar, has been trying to solve throughout the film. When a plan goes wrong, the masked vigilante kidnaps Rudra Pratap and runs away, while Amar and the cops chase him. The intercutting here works brilliantly as we follow three parallel storylines. The antagonist of the film, Sandaram, battles the vigilante's men, and the vigilante kills his target after duking it out with several goons and cops. Meanwhile, we also see Amar's wife Gayatri with someone held captive by his men, who interestingly recognizes someone of significance. Amar catches up to the vigilante, claiming to know who he is. The vigilante slowly removes his gloves and takes out his phone, connecting his feed to a screen in the wedding. Anirudh's score is ratcheting up slowly. All eyes are on him. He removes the mask and it's none other than our hero, Vikram, alive and kicking. The music sings Nayagan, referring to his old classic, announcing the hero's entry. Finally seeing him in all of his glory. Everyone around him is astonished, as are we. How is he alive? While we're also just in awe of seeing our superstar reveal himself in such a badass scene. After establishing his presence as a force to be reckoned with, he leaves on his bike, leaving us in anticipation of what is going to happen in the second half of the film. Ending on a high note. I just love this scene. I keep coming back to it from time to time. I will never forget how my theatre just erupted with screams and applause the moment we see Kamal Hassan's face. It was truly an experience to remember. RRR. If y'all know me, you would know just how obsessed I am with this movie. I have talked about it on the channel a bunch of times and raved about it to my friends almost all the time. Sorry guys. With 10 viewings and more on the way, this is one of my favorite movies ever made, and its interval scene is unforgettable. The primary reason for its effectiveness stems from its multiple setups and payoffs that conclude here. Bheem breaks into the palace with a horde of wild animals, which is a payoff to Bheem's introduction with the tiger, and this small moment from the Dosti song. Bheem also gets to battle Robert, a minor antagonistic force who has caused Bheem a lot of trouble before, so it's really satisfying when we see him defeated. And the main thing is, when Ram enters the fight, the film's primary conflict and source of drama lies in how we, the audience, have been made aware that Ram and Bheem are on opposite sides. And the reason we keep watching is because we are invested in their individual goals and have grown to care about them and their friendship. And that means we're equally scared to see them face off, which we know will happen, just not sure how. And now that both parties are aware that they are on opposite sides, it's heartbreaking to see them fight. This isn't an action scene to enjoy, it's one that tugs at your heartstrings. The themes of fire and water are also paid off as we see the bearer of both elements face off. Ram punches a tiger in the face, and Bhim is very close to attaining his goal, but then Ram stops him. Our investment never fluctuates as we see characters determined to get what they want and facing unstoppable odds that prevent them from doing so. Ram has the opportunity to kill Bhim, but he cares too much for him to do that. Bhim escapes and runs for Malli, but then Ram pulls out his last option, and that is the threat that Bhim gave him to save his life not too long ago. It's just one emotional gut punch after another. Governor Scott returns and aims his gun at Malli. Bhim realizes that he has lost, and it's all thanks to who he thought was his best friend Ram, who suffers multiple merciless punches from Bhim. This friendship that we had grown to care about had come to a tragic end. We have no idea what's about to happen next as the film leaves us on this tremendously emotional high. I still remember walking out of the theater after the interval saying to myself, shit, this is a good movie. And I'm so glad that the second half delivered the promise of what the first half had accomplished. It definitely works because of the masterful filmmaking and M.M. Keeravani's score, but it primarily works because of the writing. Its use of setups and payoffs to heighten the emotional conflict. And this is why this interval block is nothing short of perfect. So these are the list of films that I talked about that I think have excellent interval blocks. And I know they're all very recent films. I mean, the oldest film in the list still came out in 2009. But this is where you guys come in. Feel free to comment down below your favorite interval blocks, and if there's enough material, I might even make a part 2 to this video, who knows. Until then, thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, subscribe and support the channel. It means the world to me. And until next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.